everyone, and welcome to another News Coolum video and another plug side chat. I kind of don't have a whole lot of time with this because I'm about to head out down to San Francisco. This, I don't know, I've lost actually count of how many times I've had to make this trip recently. And, 3/4 of this driving is 70-75 mile an hour freeway. We're just above freezing right now. There could be some significant winds. So all told, 350 miles represents about double my Chevrolet Bolt EV's sort of base range in current configuration. And with that, I'm accounting for things like the new battery that I've received that actually appears to have, well over 60 kilowatt hours of usable capacity. So this is the type of trip where I think a lot of people would probably use a route planner. And it got me thinking, maybe I should explain, because I don't think I actually have just sat down and talked about why I don't use route planners. And so to me, there are two sort of fundamental flaws to EV trip planners, and then one that's not sort of fundamental or intrinsic. It just happens to be the way that a lot of EV route planners are currently configured. And so maybe I'll just get that one out of the way, because I know a lot of people credit Tesla with having the best route planner. And it really is, in the sense that it's completely integrated into their ecosystem. Now, I have some experience with it in the past, driving parallel with some other Tesla owners, and there were some things about it that I don't like, right? Especially what you could refer to as audibling, both literally and figuratively. I think they've updated that so it can actually accept voice commands now. But when I'm driving, a lot of times it's, hey Google, and it will bring up a map, or it'll bring up a map. And then you can, I'm going to shut that off now. And then you can actually just reroute depending on where you want to go, what you want to do. You can basically change the dynamic of the trip on the fly. Now, I think Tesla has gotten better at that. But really, fundamentally, what makes Tesla's route planning system the best, just sort of objectively speaking, is that it's completely integrated and the driver doesn't need to know anything, right? So basically, your itinerary is being curated for you. And that's a lot different than a lot of the other route planners, and that's why I said this isn't an intrinsic fundamental flaw, but it is still an issue. And it's that most of the route planners require the EV driver to know enough about their car, the route, and the conditions and the driving speeds, the weather, elevation changes, that they don't really need a route planner, right? It's basically redundant at that point, because if you're telling me that I know that my car will do 3.19 miles per kilowatt hour at 75 miles an hour sustained driving, and that I'll lose about 20% if we have a 10 to 15 mile an hour headwind, and I'll lose 1.5 kilowatt hour per 1,000 feet of elevation increase. If I know all of that in my head, why do I need a route planner? So all these times you see me travel, and I arrive at a charger with 1%, 2%, 3% battery, that's all done without a route planner. And it's done because I know my car, I know the route, and I know the conditions, right? And so that sort of fundamental flaw with these route planners is, unless you have one that integrates. So if you pay extra for a better route planner's, OBD2 integrated one that actually gets readings from your car and telemetry and all of that, and that's an additional cost, or you can afford a Tesla and are happy with only using Tesla's integrated network, well, then those route planners will work fine. You don't need to know anything about your car. But the rest of them really require you to know more about your car to the point that a route planner is unnecessary. So, like I said, it's not an intrinsic fundamental flaw, but it's a current flaw among the, most of the EV route planners. Now, getting that one out of the way, what I wanted to talk about were the two sort of fundamental issues with EV route planners, and these I don't see being corrected right, by any sort of integration or whatnot. And it's to the point where, I hear a lot of people say, hey, look, unless we have effective EV route planners built into all of these cars, they'll never go mainstream. My counter argument is, as long as you need an EV route planner, electric vehicles can't go mainstream. Because in the future, the way people are going to interact with electric vehicles, the way people are going to interact with charging networks is going to fundamentally change, right? So they're going to go on a trip knowing full well that there is EV charging coverage along the entire corridor, and they're going to be able to exit the freeway, and they're going to be able to see a charger at one of a dozen different venues and locations off that freeway exit. So they're going to interact with it more like we currently interact with gas pumps in gas cars on long trips. And of course, the other aspect of that is no memberships, right? They're just going to want to pay with credit card and potentially cash in the future, but those facilities are going to need to be able to accept that. But that being said, that's what a mainstream transition to electric vehicles would look like. In the meantime, though, like I said, a lot of people are saying, no, you have to have these EV trip planners. And I mean, for better or worse, some of those people are actually sponsored by, as advertisers or whatnot, by these different route planners. And so they might be incentivized to encourage people to use that particular route planner. And if someone wants to, that's fine. But just understand that at that point, what you're watching is a commercial for that route planner, right? You're watching a sponsored stream or sponsored video by that route planner. So they're incentivized to encourage you to use it, whereas I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting advertising dollars from any of these route planners, so I don't use them. Full disclosure, I do use PlugShare, but I don't use PlugShare's trip planner functionality. And this will get into that very first fundamental flaw of those EV route planners is they don't give you a qualitative assessment of the sites. So one of the reasons I use PlugShare is I not only get notes and feedback from the charging provider itself. Maybe Electrify America is doing repairs. Maybe EVgo has some site maintenance they're doing. Maybe ChargePoint is ripping out a charger and putting in a new charger, right? Like the Dunnigan CPE 250. But I get that qualitative data by looking at the charging sites along a given route. Whereas route planners don't really provide you with that sort of qualitative, especially user-driven, user feedback site reviews, especially when you're driving, right? All of that would have to be done ahead of time, which is sort of the thing that route planners are saying that they're trying to change. So having that sort of qualitative understanding of the sites is, really important at this point in time. And maybe I'll take a little bit of a tangent here because people say, well, I live in an area without any charging. A lot of people do. And I've actually traveled in a lot of areas without any charging. Yes, I know I'm in California. Yes, I know it's a balmy 33 degrees right now. But I live in an area where when I bought my Chevrolet Bolt EV 6 years ago, there were only 3 public fast chargers, 2 of them 24 kilowatt, within 100 miles of my home. There were only 2 superchargers within 100 miles of my home. That's radius. So when you think of it that way, yeah, there's not a whole lot of chargers, right? That actually makes your trip planning easier because you don't have choices, right? So you don't need a route planner when you know you need to hit every single Electrify America charging site along a 500, 600, 700, 800 mile gap. You got no choices. So you don't need a EV trip planner then either. You still want to do sort of a qualitative assessment to understand the health of the charging sites along the route, but an EV trip planner doesn't do that. And then the other fundamental flaw, and this is why I say EV trip planners, as long as they're necessary, EVs won't go mainstream. And that is EV trip planners design the trip, the itinerary of the trip, just the whole fundamental trip. They design it around the car, not the driver, not the passengers. That's not something that's ever going to change, right? So when you have a route planner that says, oh, you need to stop here for 10 minutes, you need to stop here for 15 minutes, you need to charge up to this, you need to charge up to that, you need to do this, you need to do that, you can only drive this fast. All of that is, antithetical. All of that is fundamentally wrong in terms of the way most people want to take trips. They want to take trips that are built around their needs and their passengers' needs. So yes, I have Google Maps loaded right now because I know where I want to go in San Francisco. But that's the thing. That's the destination that I am going to. That's the destination that I'm taking my passengers to, right? That is not that is not for the car. When I load in an EV route planner, now all of a sudden it says, oh, you need to stop here, you need to stop there, you need to stop there. Well, did you think that there are $7 to $10 bridge tolls going in one route of San Francisco or coming out another? Did you think that there's road construction in one area? Or did you think that, maybe there are fewer amenities on a particular route? Did you think that maybe we wanted to stop by C's Candy in Vacaville? Right? Did you think of those things? No, you didn't, because you are a stupid route planner that wants to build a trip around the car and not the passengers and not the driver. And as long as that remains true, EV route planners are completely unnecessary. And so I guess this is the point. Well, tell us how you really feel, Eric. And that is how I really feel. I think that right now, EV trip planners do have a place, but the place is only because people are still getting used to EVs. People are used to traveling without understanding how their cars work. And all of that is sort of a stopgap while we wait for distributed public charging to go into place. And no, I'm not talking about 50 and 100 charging stall mega charger sites. That also doesn't play into what I'm talking about. I'm talking about stopping off an interstate in a town of 400 people and saying, I'm going to go to the general store and I'm going to fill up my EV on a charger that they have there ready, up and running, willing to accept my payment, right? When that happens, then EVs can go mainstream. So when we have a charging site at each and every venue off of an Interstate 5 freeway exit, then we're going to talk about EVs going mainstream, right? So you're not going to get that when you have just a few big mega charger sites and a smattering of tiny little charging stalls here or there. Maybe more than 3 or 4 off of a major freeway exit in a town of 15 to 20,000 people. If that's the case, no, EVs can't go mainstream. They just can't. You need people to be able to see the infrastructure on the places they go on trips so that they know that, hey, I want to grab a Starbucks, there's a charger there. I want to stop at In-N-Out, there's a charger there. That sort of thing. It's going to need to happen. And until it does, EVs can't go mainstream, and EV route planners aren't going to fix that. So I'd love to hear what you think. Are you someone that always uses an EV route planner? Is it something that is sort of fundamental to what you like to do, how you like to travel? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and thank you for watching.